Okay, so it's not James Bond come to Luxembourg, but friends Antoine Seyler and Wagner could certainly give the English special agent a few tips when it comes to classic cars. The knowledgeable pair are gearing up for the Le Mans 24-hour classic car rally, where they will put a stunningly restored Lotus 11 S1 through its paces. As the only Luxembourg team entering an English car, they explained what drives them.
This is Lotus 11 Series 1. Manufactured in 1956. I was at Le Mans Classic in 2004 and I had seen the car there. It was brought by a British gentleman who owned it at that time. It was on display at the historic Lotus Register. And then in 2006, having met Antoine, who is a former racer, more than me, we decided to go and for the adventure of racing the car actually at Le Mans Classic in 2008.
Sadly, they didn't win in 2008, but perhaps they'll be lucky the second time round.
In our race, we race 3 times about 15 minutes. We race against 70 other cars from the same period, and the period is 1949 to 1956. We have one of the youngest cars, this car is from 1956, in the Plateau, which is Plateau 2. But we also have the smallest car in the Plateau. This is only a very small engine, 1100 cc, 85 horsepower, and we're competing against cars with about 5-litre engines, 400 horsepower, very competitive cars. We're not going for the scratch result, so we will never be able to match these big cars, but we're going for trying to go for the best result in what is called thermal efficiency index, which is longest distance for the smallest car. The track itself is I wouldn't qualify it as very difficult in terms of technical difficulty, but it is difficult because you have so many cars, you're going so fast, there's cars passing you at about 1.5 times your speed. So you have to be very careful, and that's the difficulty in the race. And we're racing in the night. We race for 3 hours, 3 times an hour. 1 race is at night, two races at daytime. Our first race will be at about 10 o'clock in the evening. Second race about 6 o'clock in the morning, or 5-ish. And then the next race is 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
The only Luxembourgish team with a proper English car, and we are very proud to have one of the not the oldest, but it's the smallest car. Colin Chapman designed it perfectly. It's still a fantastic car, and all the people like it. But it's when you see the car, you smile. It's so small, you know. It's like a big karting or a twin bike, actually.
The pair are taking part in tribute to Antoine's hero and inspiration, the Belgian racing driver Paul Frère.
Paul Frère, who just, he's there, he's everywhere, he's in my heart, actually. He won Le Mans in 1960, he was several times second, third, fourth with Jaguar, Aston Martin, and his win was in 1960 with the Testarossa. And he gave me, just before he passed away, he gave me the a few days before, his wife and Paul, they called me, and I went to Saint-Paul-de-Vence, and then one of a sudden, before I left the room, he said, we have something special for you. And then he gave me the steering wheel. It's signed by Enzo Ferrari in 1960 when he won Le Mans, and he didn't want anything else apart from the trophy, of course, and Enzo Ferrari gave him his last trophy, actually. This is the last trophy of Paul Frère.
So, with just weeks to go, how are the boys feeling?
Starting to get excited. You must imagine that in 1956 these cars were raced at Le Mans. They were coming from the UK, and most of these cars were driven by road to Le Mans. So they had already done about 700-800 kilometers. Then we're doing 24-hour race, and ideally we're driving with the drivers back to the race. Amazing. We can't imagine these things to happen these days.
Sit next to a new car, isn't it?